Hi and welcome to the We Need a Roast podcast. And David, another one of these damn kids jumped in front of my car. Come on out here and help me take him in the house. David, have you ever jumped in front of anyone's car?
Not intentionally jumped in front of the car. I've actually, you know what? I have done the whole trying to be really cool. You know, when I was a kid and I was cool. I was never cool. But I tried to jump, I tried to do that thing where you skid across someone's bonnet and then jump in the car. You know what I mean? What's it called?
You shimmy across.
Is that?
I mean, that's a word.
That's what I did. I did shimmy across because I didn't skid at all in any cool way across this bonnet. But, I tried to slide across and then jump in someone's car. But that did not work. And in fact, I think I probably left a scratch on their car, which is sort of like an unspoken thing and no one's ever said anything. But it's there. So,
like you say, you weren't bird watching like George McFly was.
No, bird watching. Yeah, but you saw a couple. Anyway.
Well, in this episode, in news, we're going to be talking Zac Efron and pro wrestling, Squid Game Season 2 and an actual Squid Game reality show, Joker 2 is a thing and a musical, and the Jon Snow show, not the acclaimed Channel 4 newscaster, but a continuation of Game of Thrones. And we'll be taking a quick look at Paramount Plus, yet another streaming service that has just launched in the UK. In reviews, I'm going to be talking Scott Derrickson and Ethan Hawke's new film, The Black Phone, and Cooper Rafe's Cha Cha Real Smooth. And David, what will you be talking about?
I'm going to be talking about Hustle, which is on Netflix, and Prehistoric Planet, which you can catch on Apple TV+.
And also, David, it seems that one of my many, many recommendations to you has finally paid off, because what show have you recently binged the first series of in the last week?
Yeah. So, I'm pretty much at... How many episodes of this have we done where you've mentioned Derry Girls?
A lot of Derry Girls. There's been a lot of Derry.
You've been banging on about Derry Girls for a while. And every time I've been like, I see it there, and I'm like, nah, doesn't really, I don't know. It never really tickled my fancy. So I thought, fuck it, there's nothing else on between, the Stranger Things seasons dropping and between Obi-Wan and whatever. So I thought, fuck it, we'll give it a go. There's nothing else to really watch, and we just want something small for half an hour. Man, you were right. You were right, Neil.
Say it again,
take
David.
this
Say
moment.
It again.
But I know, you should take it. You were right. It's very good. And we will talk about it.
And we will, definitely get into David's reverse ferret a little bit later on. So
Why
I
is
think
it
it's
a reverse ferret? I never said I watched it and hated it. That's not a reverse ferret.
Well, okay, yeah, it's not a true reverse ferret. It's a reverse hamster. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
I'm just reversing small mammals at this point for no apparent reason. And that's such an in-joke that unless you listen to the Pilot TV podcast or Empire, you will not get the reference anyway. But I'm hoping that, a lot of our fans do, because they are, some of the best TV and film podcasts out there. Blatant plug over. First up, news.
News.
And in news, Zac Efron is making a wrestling film called The Iron Claw. Now, Efron, for me, has been pretty misused over the last decade, and he's essentially just become the hot guy who takes his shirt off in every film and plays a bumbling idiot. He's been doing this for about a decade now, but he has showed flashes of real depth in films like Me and Orson Welles with Richard Linklater, one of my favourite directors, and he's also tried to shed his good guy image a little bit with his Ted Bundy film, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. However, recently he was even in an absolutely terrible remake of Firestarter, and so much so that he's now playing the dad role in the film, and he didn't even get mentioned in the trailer. I was like, wait, that's Zac Efron.
Yeah, I thought that was bollocks. Oh, yeah, I didn't understand that as well. He was the biggest named star in the film, probably. Yeah. And he was kind of like, you watch the trailer, and it's like, oh, fucking hell, Zac Efron's in it. Okay.
Do you know what, though? Perhaps the film has not had good reviews. Perhaps it was that bad. He's like, just take my name off it.
He was just like, you know what, I weren't in it, guys. I weren't in it. I don't want my name on any of the promotional stuff. Yeah. Because you could bet when they signed the contract, he'd want his names up on fucking everything. And then when he saw it, he's just like, oh shit. Nah, man, don't. I haven't actually seen Firestarter, so I don't know if it's bad.
I'm not going to unless I'm really, really bored, stuck in traffic, and the only thing that works on the streaming service of my choice at that time is that film. And even that,
I've seen the IMDb rating for it is 4.6. So
I mean, the original wasn't good. Well, it's funny, right? Because it was Firestarter was like an early Stephen King one, and actually later on we will be talking about Stephen King's son, Joe Hill.
Yeah, is this Stephen King when he was like on drugs? Is this?
Yes, it was. I mean, from all
accounts,
Misery
King, like prime drug King.
Salem's Lot, Pet Sematary, It, all the classics, man.
Yeah.
And of course, The Stand, which still hasn't been done properly. But let's get in. We're getting off point as always. But yeah, so Zac Efron's making a film about the famous Von Erich wrestling family and their meteoric rise to the top of the business in the 60s and 70s, and then their sad decline in the 80s and 90s. Now, I'm familiar with this story because there's a documentary series about pro wrestling called The Dark Side of the Ring, and they actually did an episode on the Von Erich family a little while ago. And honestly, it is such a tragic story that I don't really want to...
Sorry, mate. In 5 minutes, can you just describe to me who these people are? Because I haven't got a clue. What is this family?
Right, so in the 1970s and the 60s, the Von Erich family from Texas were the biggest. There was I think there was 5 or 6 brothers, all spectacularly good-looking guys, and they were selling out stadiums with 60, 70,000. They were like the rock stars. They were like the Hulk Hogans of the 70s and the 60s.
Right, when was like Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant and all that?
Hulk Hogan was the 80s, like late 70s, early 80s.
Okay, so just before that, are we talking like Bruno Sammartino? Is that his name?
He was around for ages, but they were the kind of that era, yeah, the Von Erichs. When I first started watching wrestling in I think 1991, 92, Kerry Von Erich, one of the sons, was kind of in the twilight of his career in WWF at the time. But I didn't realise at the time, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, this guy's brilliant. His finisher was a spinning punch. But apparently, at that point, he was so banged up, he'd literally just taken the big money at WWE to have the easy life. Yeah, he had a prosthetic foot at the time that I didn't know about. So you wouldn't have known that watching him back then. And essentially he was on a very sort of... But, I mean, it's a sad tale of, the standard kind of sports things of drug abuse, death,
There's
suicide.
a lot of that in wrestling, isn't there? Do you think wrestling has an issue with drug substance abuse? Because it's not like professional sport where you have to take a drugs test before going out and, performing. Is that in wrestling?
I think you can compare being a pro wrestler to being a rock star in the 70s and the 80s as well. It was that whole lifestyle of on the road every day. I mean, the thing with the rock stars, they go out, play for a few hours, stay up all night drinking, and the wrestlers would do the same, except they're getting the shit kicked out of their bodies every night. And so, there's a thing in the wrestling industry where they're pretty much always saying you always wrestle hurt. Because you don't want to take time off for injury, because you don't get paid if you're off injured, and someone else will take your spot. So you push you... And people, pills and booze and all
definitely.
that.
I'm having a look at the Von Erich family tree. A lot of them died very young.
Yeah.
Just looking at it, 58 to 84, 60 to 93, 64 to 87.
Yeah, it's a very tragic story, man. I mean, and as sad as it is in the real life side of things, that is a perfect story to sort of tell on the big screen. You can see that, and that's why I was getting back to Efron. You could see him. That's the kind of film that could get him awards. That if they get the right producers and their team behind it, that could be that kind of film that really does. I mean, The Wrestler did win the awards, didn't it? Mickey Rourke won for that a few years back. That was all fictionalized though, but this is based on a true story. And as always, a lot of times, a lot of true stories are much more disturbing than something you can make up.
Yeah. So this is where you think Zac Efron is going to sort of hone into his acting chops a bit more.
Yeah. I mean,
lose the pretty boy persona, even though you said that these guys are amazingly good-looking wrestlers.
Yeah. I think he's got that as well. So I think, but he'll be able to, with the sort of the drink and the drug addiction, that he'll actually be able to get to kind of break out from his standard roles, and hopefully it just gives him a chance to sort of shine on his acting abilities for a change. And obviously, mate, it's a big budget film about pro wrestling, so I'm going to be there for it.
Yeah, I agree with you with Zac Efron, where you say that he has moments in movies where you see his actual acting shine through. I 100% agree with you on that.
But then he does Dirty Grandpa and Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates and Baywatch and basically a bit of Neighbours. So all the films where he plays a douchebag where he takes his shirt off all the time.
I mean, he was the Greatest Showman. He's a lot of singing because he's a fucking amazingly talented human being, and it's quite annoying how talented he is. And to be that good looking as well is just a crime. But
yeah, well,
anyway,
we're here for it. Zac Efron, hopefully doing good stuff sometime soon. Next up, we're going to be talking Squid Game Season 2. And yes, in the least surprising yet somehow not news, we had double Squid Game news with Hwang Dong-hook, creator of the show, finally officially confirming Season 2 of the show, but maybe not until 2023 or even 2024. Where hopefully, I'm hoping that we're going to see the continuation of Sung Hee-hun's evolution after being the winner of the first game, but also not touching the money to the chagrin of the game's organisers. And as we saw at the end of season 1, he's about to leave on a flight and leave with his family to see his family, but he sees the game's recruiters targeting another poor soul, and he decides to not get on the plane.
He's going to go. He's going to go back into the games. Neil,
he's going to go John Wick.
He's going to John Wick their asses.
Well, he had that cool haircut at the end, didn't he?
He did. Oh yeah. What was it like with the red streak or something in it? Was it a blue streak? I can't remember.
I just thought he had slightly longer
red?
hair, and
the whole thing was red. I can't remember now.
I can't remember. I thought he had like longer hair and like a bit of a beard going on.
It
and
was
that swishy jacket.
I love that Netflix's number one show of all time still is a foreign language show. That's amazing. That shows that like people are actually acceptable of different media platforms, and that foreign language shows shouldn't be, throw them in there because there's some awesome shit.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? With Netflix, although they've been getting absolutely hammered in the press recently for falling subscriber numbers and all these different,
it's not been great Netflix at the moment. Yeah, they're not doing well in the old streaming wars.
But they do push foreign language shows and movies a lot more than any other streamer, so we will give them that. Because of Squid Game. What was the other show? Hellbound. I watched Hellbound, the other South Korean show that was very good. There was A Silent Sea, the other the South Korean one that came out recently, and they have got a lot of world cinema and world TV content on there. So not too many other streamers are doing that. So as much as people rag on them for certain things at the minute, they are still, I think, at the forefront of that. But with Squid Game season 2, I know it does sound like a blatant cash in because that's exactly what it is. And interestingly, one of the actors who hasn't been named has said that the creator of the show hasn't even now mapped out the future still hasn't mapped out where future seasons will go, and he's actually struggling to write the next season. I mean, for me, the obvious route to go is you have another set of characters go through the games with Seong on the outside trying to expose the shadowy people behind the games, or maybe get back in the game. But yeah, I think, do you know what? I think they're going to have a struggle to hit the heights of season 1. I really do.
Yeah, it's a tall order, isn't it? Because season 1 was so popular. They're not going to. You'd think if they'd done it once, they could hit it again. I think season 1 did it. Did it start, and the middle of it was where it was prime hot, like really good television, and then the end of it waned, and the beginning was a bit funny. But that core center of the story was where it was great TV. Hopefully, the writers are able to just pull it out of the bag and produce something awesome. But yeah, it's a tall order, isn't it? When you compete with something that was incredibly popular, it's one of those things now where you're never going to please everybody because it's become something so popular. It's almost impossible.
You have half the fans want the same thing again because they enjoyed it the first time round, and then you get other people go, well, no, you need to move the story on. It can't be the same thing again. And I bet you now, like the producers from Netflix and the creator of the show, they're literally butting heads over which way the story goes in it. Because, I mean, there has been loads of Squid Games down the years. I would lean more into the mythology of it and expand it that way rather than just do a repeat of the games again. Find out. Have episode 1 be a flashback episode where it's created in the first place and you learn about it, or throw that in the middle and have none of the regular characters.
But then you're going down the quite formulatic route of it, aren't you? And then I feel like with something like this, with Squid Game, once you sort of reveal the mystery, it becomes less appealing. Once you've had that information and you've been fed that information, unless you're replacing it with something more intriguing, which, like I said, will be quite difficult to do for the show. It's gonna be difficult, and I feel like its appeal will get less and less the more is revealed about it.
Oh yeah, and it's whether they do a good job. I mean, the only stuff they kind of hinted at was with all like the VIPs, and they were the worst part of the show, weren't they?
Yeah, just that it's a really expensive,
game.
Show. It reminded me of something. Hostel. It reminded me of the Hostel films, where just ridiculously rich, expensive people were just paying to kill people. It kind of reminded me of that in some ways.
That's the same plot as the Fincher film, isn't it? The Game with Michael Douglas back in the day.
Yeah.
And The Hunt more recently. So it's very good, very good. Check it out. It's on Netflix. Yeah, and obviously, and we're talking about Squid Game. Naturally, the next evolution of it is Netflix are making an actual Squid Game reality show. Yep, that's right, David. Netflix are doing a real-life Squid Game where 456 people will be whittled down to one winner who will receive 4.56 million. I mean, who knew Netflix would murder 455 people on live TV? But apparently that's happening.
And everyone be excited for it.
Do you know what? I just think we need, obviously we joke, hopefully, but it's going to be, I can kind of see this being, if they get it right, the best reality TV show of all time. Because you're going to have all the iconography associated with the show. You're going to have people put into games against each other. And, you're going to have the teams develop and then they're going to turn them against each other. Because they're going to clearly follow the plot line of the show.
Yeah, is it going to be fully international show, or is it? From
the little bit of research I've done, yes, they're cast. They're looking for people from all over the world. So I don't know whether it's gonna. And apparently they need a couple of months of your time for filming.
How many people? Are involved?
456.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot. It'll be interesting to see how, because with reality TV shows, the max you usually get is 20, and you have people come and go, but you never really go above 20 for the ones that I've watched. I don't watch a lot of reality TV.
No.
Having to balance over 400 people, that's mad. They're going to have to solely follow a few of them.
What they're going to do? They're going to have a mass murder, non-lethal murder in the first episode, aren't they? And wipe out at least
that's what happens in that first.
I reckon however many weeks. I mean, again, Netflix don't do live reality TV. So is it going to be live? Is it going to be one episode a week? They're not obviously going to drop the whole thing at one time because they want to. And even though that Netflix were the people who designed that, you definitely don't want to. They want to stretch it out, don't they?
It'll be an episode a week. It'll be an episode a week. It'll be like how they've done their other reality sort of TV show stuff.
The one person you need to host this, Arnold Schwarzenegger, because of the Running Man.
I know. Yeah. No. I got it. Yeah. Definitely. Have you seen Mr. Beast, the YouTuber? He's already done a Squid Game sort of TV show, real life TV show, reality show kind of thing. I say show, it's a 15-minute video.
And is he in jail now?
He goes through. Well, he didn't kill anybody that we know of, but I think it's one of his most popular videos ever. I think it blew up like crazy. It's had over 300 million views or something. Anyway, yeah, he basically took his warehouse, crazy rich YouTuber, took this warehouse and said, did the scene, had hundreds of people and was just okay, whoever wins this gets to win $1 million or whatever it was, the prize was. And he went through it, but it was all just a 15-minute show. And they did all the similar stuff that you do in Squid Game, like the first one where you turn around and if you get caught, then you're out. Stuff and other sort of challenges. But yeah, it's already there, man. It was fucking popular, so it shows that Netflix probably saw what Mr. Beast did and was just fucking hell, a lot of people really liked this.
Yeah, with our IP that we own.
We can do it with Netflix's budget behind it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it could be the most watched reality show of all time if they get it right, man. Definitely. Right. And
I'll watch it. I'm in it. I'm a fan already.
Yeah, man. I'm
like I said, I don't watch a reality TV show. I occasionally watch I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. But that's only because if there's one or two people in there that I genuinely think are quite funny.
I'm sorry, David. I'll cut that for your embarrassment.
I'm a Celebrity's all right. What do you not watch any sort of TV shows? Any reality shows at all?
No.
Nothing. Not nothing. Not Strictly.
No.
These are all British ones. I don't know what other American sort of ones are there. Or other stuff that's on. Me and Natasha occasionally watched. It's like a World's Strongest Man thing. But it's on Netflix and it's not World's Strongest Man. It's the Ultimate Beast Master or something. That was quite entertaining. They were like ninjas.
Yeah, no. It's all Big Brother's fault, man. I'm not a fan of reality TV because I just think it's a format where people go, right, we don't have to write scripts as such. I mean, they are script written, but it's lowest common denominator
I
TV.
understand it. Yeah, I understand why you hate it.
There's so many bad ones. I mean, okay, so you get the occasional good one. I can't think of one off the top of my head because it's not my genre though.
I'm a Celebrity's entertaining. Watching that, it is an entertaining show.
I mean, yeah, I'll agree with you on
good
that
because you got a lot of talented dancers on it.
Mate, you're just bringing back.
I'm not a fan of X Factor and stuff like that. Oh yeah, you know what? Bake Off. Bake Off's fucking great. Love Bake Off. The ones I hate it when they bring children into reality TV shows. Because I think that's just fucking exploiting children and bringing them into a world that they're not prepared for. And can't ever be prepared for, because that's what I don't like.
To be fair, mate, as well, with all the news stories about people who've been on reality shows, like basically, killing themselves, clearly, the screening process for these shows
problem, wasn't it? That's on at the moment. I don't watch Love Island, but that's I just wanted to quickly throw that out there.
But what I'm saying is the screening process for this type of thing is terrible, because people are clearly, and like I say, yeah, it's just exploitative. Yeah, this person's clearly unbalanced.
Yeah, like when, like with kids going on Britain's Got Talent and stuff like that. That never really felt comfortable with me. Even though you had this amazingly talented child that you'd see was doing really well, but then for every talented child, you'll have another child whose dreams are completely crushed, and that talented child would be then brought into a world of social media and like short-term fame that they're not prepared for, and can't be prepared for. Is that fair? Yeah, I feel like there should be like an age limit to it of like maybe 16 or something. Where I don't know. That's my faults. I might be wrong. And
well, do you know what? It's reality TV, mate. So I don't really care. I can't stand it, to be fair. And next up is the Jon Snow show, as HBO are looking at developing a Game of Thrones sequel series with Kit Harington earmarked to return. Now, for me, I'm surprised, as Jon Snow has lived and died at least once in the original show, though the lure of being able to bring back a selection of OG series characters generally would be massive for HBO. But I'm surprised that Harington is considering coming back, as he was just in the Eternals, and his post-credit scene definitely hinted that he'd be doing a lot more going forward in the MCU. And why go back to a role that you've already done for well over 8 years? As Marty McFly once said, what happens to us in the future, Doc? Do we become arseholes or something? Does Bran become a raging psychotic bellend? Does the Targaryen madness start to creep into Jon Snow, and he begins his slow descent into madness and tries to claim the Iron Throne for himself? Where do you think the show will go, David? And is the Targaryen madness thing literally just a wheel of time? And are you happy?
There was a lot there that you mentioned. This just what you mentioned there about Kit Harington wanting to do it or not. Emilia Clarke just recently did an interview confirming that it's a real show that's actually happening, and saying that Kit Harington was the one that was fronting it, was the one that was pushing for it to be done. So that's interesting. If you're saying that he's going to basically force himself back into another contract playing the same role, but maybe he wasn't satisfied with how his character's story arc ended. Like a lot of the actors weren't, because let's face it wasn't fantastic how Game of Thrones ended.
Yeah.
Maybe he wanted to rectify the sins of David and Dan. It's a weird one, because this show is it's a poisoned chalice before it's even begun. It's before it's even started. It's got to both live on the shoulders of Game of Thrones, but it's also got to, because it's not its own thing, it's carrying on the story from the past. So is it going to try and rectify a lot of the plot holes that were left behind, a lot of the questions that we didn't answer? Is it going to bring back all of the previous characters, or are we just going to or is he just going to stay beyond the wall, and it's going to be a small niche storyline that's going to happen beyond the wall? Is this going to be like an
8-episode season of Jon Snow and his wolves running around in a forest?
Just but already it's a difficult place for them to start, because a lot of fans were so angry with how anger is full pure hatred. I mean, how many people signed that petition for it to be redone? The end of Game of Thrones.
Too many people. Like that's ever going to happen, man. That was such a stupid idea.
I know, but I think it was just a way of people actually showing the disappointment in the show and how it was written. But already it's starting off in a bad place. So it is really got to be something incredible to draw people back into it. I mean, I'm a sucker. I'm going to be drawn into it anyway, because I love George Martin. I love Westeros. I love A Song of Ice and Fire. I fucking loved Game of Thrones at its peak. It was my favourite show of all time. It probably still is, even though I hate it. It makes me genuinely sad and angry when I think about how it was badly treated.
Well, hold on to that, mate, because we are going to do a Game of Thrones special coming up when I'm close to finishing my rewatch of it. So we'll go through it again once I've gone
no,
through
brilliant. But the show, it's the Jon Snow show.
The Jon Snow show.
I really hope they call it that. I hope that's its official title. But it's already got a lot to fix. And it's not a good place for any writer to start.
Well, no. I think I disagree there. I think you literally because of the reasons you've just said. First of all, the main thing to this show working is who are the showrunners going to be? Who are going to be the writers and the team behind it? Now, it's HBO, and HBO have quite a big list of directors that kind of rotate around all their premium projects. So, you'll see, in a glory period, you see the same directors on The Sopranos that will be doing 6 Feet Under and all that kind of stuff. So they always, and it's the same now. You see someone who directed Game of Thrones directs Barry or other shows like that. So I think they've got the strength and directors on their tap there at HBO, but it's who are going to be the showrunners and what is the story going to be. But I think you say it's a bad place to start from. Well, no, it's a good place in a way because the writers can, and obviously they can sit down with Harrington and they go, right, what was the things people were pissed off about the most? What can we change? What can we retcon going forwards and fix to get the fans back on board?
Yeah, but then you come into like pandering for the fans and what they want, and that's also a bad place to start writing. If you're already pandering at what the fans want.
But that's just what you said. You just said, it's
I know,
a
it's
chance
just
to fix.
what I'm saying. It's really difficult. I think it's a really difficult place to start. You're right. There is amazingly talented people that will probably work on this show, but it's really difficult. In my opinion, to bring people back in love with something which broke their hearts, Neil.
I mean, I think you obviously had a much more negative view of the last couple of seasons than I did, man. I thought it ended. As it got to the end, for me, I felt it sped up too much, and it didn't make it was too fast compared to the earlier seasons where stuff built slowly and it was really well done.
When we have our thing, I will.
You've got thoughts.
I've got thoughts. A lot of it
Dark
didn't.
thoughts.
Like some stuff just it doesn't even make sense. Something that no one's even talking about really is
Okay.
I won't get into it.
Yeah.
I won't get into it.
Save it for now, man. I guess the question is, you are not happy at the minute?
No, I know. I am happy about it. I'm happy. Of course I'm happy about it. It's more content in Westeros. Like I said, I love it. I love George Martin. Game of Thrones is a bait. I'm currently collecting first edition Game of Thrones hardbacks and paperbacks. I've got 2 of them at the moment, Storm of Swords and Clash of Kings. Not fucking cheap, by the way. I'm trying to get Game of Thrones, but we're talking thousands.
You know what, mate? As well, I bet you money John Bradley is licking his lips at coming back as much more in shape Samuel Tarly.
Well, that's if he comes back, because he's currently in King's Landing.
Moonfall!
Sorry?
Moonfall!
Oh, he's currently on the moon, is he? I don't know. I haven't seen Moonfall, so I don't know where he is at in the moon. Is he still alive?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, but he's in King's Landing, so that's it. Is there going to be a whole new cast of characters?
Of course there's going to be, because of
there will be, but
budget,
I'm just like, how are they going to mix in the previous story and stuff? That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying it's a hard place to start, because you're having to pick up from where the show left off, and the show didn't it didn't leave you in a good place.
Okay, I think we'll get off Game of Thrones before you go into a dark pit of depression and rage, David.
But hopefully we're going to get loads more Game of Thrones content or Westeros-based content going forward, like Dunk and Egg and stuff like that.
There's a lot of stuff in development, isn't there? So, yeah. So, moving on from a dark and dreadful ending, we're going to go into another film that's definitely going to be into some dark and disturbing areas, and that is Joker 2 is apparently going ahead. Now, despite its Oscar and box office success, it definitely had a split audience, with a lot of its haters, as it were, saying that it actually encouraged bad behaviour by sad white guys in their basements, while others slagged it off, saying, well, it's simply just ripping off 2 much better Scorsese films in Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy. And obviously it wasn't as good as either of them. So the news that a sequel is going ahead has been had a very mixed reaction. And there is still no official confirmation that Joaquin Phoenix is returning yet. But it's a news story because apparently Lady Gaga is in negotiations to play Harley Quinn. Okay, we're intrigued, but, what about Margot Robbie? And also, haven't we had enough Harley Quinn recently in the last couple of years? I mean, that's enough points right there. But also, the second major news is it's going to be a musical. I think I speak for most of us when I say it's going to be very hard for lightning to strike twice with this franchise, but Gaga clearly wants an Oscar one day, and making a twisted musical is a very interesting way to take the franchise forward. I think this is either going to be cinematic genius or the next Cats. What it won't be is boring.
I don't think it's going to be the next Cats. I think I've got faith in it. I don't think Todd Phillips or the writers will do anything that's going to just they wouldn't sign on. They wouldn't sign on to do something unless it's as good as the original or can at least replicate something or create something new and different. Like when you said about the Harley Quinn, have we had a much Harley Quinn? I suppose I see what you're saying, but Harley Quinn's one of those characters that you kind of never get sick of seeing. I suppose it's kind of like the Joker himself, or
if you could see video, I am raising my hand. I have currently I have had enough Joker and I have had enough Harley Quinn. There are so many other characters that they could just do right now.
I suppose, but but like, how many MCU movies have you watched with the same characters in it? You're still going to watch them.
Yeah, but they're not reinventing the same.
I know.
Characters.
Yeah, I get it. It's a slightly different. But,
we're not on our fourth Iron Man in the last decade. We're not on the fourth actor playing Iron Man. Not yet. At some point, Marvel are going to be like, and start from scratch again. We are
on the third Batman in the last decade, aren't we? Probably, maybe.
I think it's more than that. No, we're on the way. Well, if you count different directors' interpretations or different Batmans, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney.
Oh yeah.
Christian Bale.
I mean just the last decade.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just Christian. Well, third. Yeah, we're on our third Batman. Affleck.
When was the last Christian Bale? When did that come out?
It's probably in the last decade. Yeah, it's probably in the last decade. So yeah, and then Affleck's Sad Fleck, and yeah, now we're on Pattinson. Yeah, it's a lot, man. I genuinely don't know what this is going to be, man. The thing is, I wouldn't be surprised. Like he's aping Scorsese, right? And Scorsese did a really bad musical in the early 80s called One from the Heart, which was like one of his kind of big failures at the time. And I'm wondering whether they're going to try and like ape that and like try and make it work, because it's one of Scorsese's films that arguably wasn't a hit at the time and didn't get good reviews. So I'm wondering if they're looking at going, but we can fix it. And I'm like, can you do better than Scorsese, Todd Phillips? I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe. I think we're going to be seeing this on Broadway in the next 4 years.
Oh, God.
Actually, whenever musical. It comes out. So maybe 5 years.
Good God. So what you're telling me is Joker the musical, starring Lady Gaga, live on stage, will be the hot ticket in 4 years' time.
It's coming to Broadway. It's coming to the West End. That's the name of the one in London.
So what you're telling me is it's going to beat Captain America to the live-action stage?
It's going to take the place of Frozen. Frozen's going to have run its course by then, and fucking Joker's coming in there.
Great, that's what you want. You want loads of little girls who are like 4 or 5 dressing up as Harley Quinn. That's not problematic in any way, is it?
Yeah, that won't cause any issues.
Anyway, so I think that... Oh no, one more news story, David. It's been a lot of news today. There's been
a lot of news.
And the news is, just recently, in fact, on the 22nd of June, yet another streaming service has launched in the UK. Finally, you say. How
many months after America?
Oh, like half a year, probably.
Yeah.
I think it even started last year at some point. Yep, and that is, we're getting Paramount Plus, finally. And at its simplest, it's essentially the Star Trek and South Park channel for me. Now, launch highlights are the long-awaited video game adaptation.
South Park's all on Amazon, isn't it?
No, well, it's all over the shop. Their licenses are all over the place, man. Some of it's on Netflix, some of it's on Amazon.
I've definitely watched all of the South Parks, because I went through them all, seasons 1 to whatever, and I watched it somewhere recently.
Not all of it's on the same service, though, man, and it will be on Paramount Plus, because Paramount in the UK, originally, it used to be on a Paramount comedy channel, which no one really watched much in the last decade.
I want to get Paramount Plus for Halo.
I have actually binged it, mate. I've seen it all. So we will be talking about Halo coming up soon when you've had a chance.
How have you managed to binge it?
Because Paramount Plus has launched already in the UK and I've seen it all.
Oh, okay.
The launch highlights are the long-awaited video game adaptation of Halo, Star Trek's Strange New Worlds, and also, yet more Star Trek, the most recent series of Star Trek Discovery, which hadn't aired in the UK for the best part of 6 months. And also Yellowstone prequel, Yellowstone 1883, are the big shows they're kind of pushing at launch. Now, it's $6.99 a month, which seems reasonable, but then you realise nothing on the service is available in 4K, HDR, or Dolby Atmos audio. And you know what? That's simply not good enough in this day and age, even if your service is cheaper. Apple TV Plus is £5 a month, and all their stuff's in 4K.
Yeah, it's not fantastic, though.
Come on, Paramount, do better.
Come on, I think Paramount Plus might have all of the drag race stuff as well for Natasha, because she likes her drag race. Oh, it's got Scream. Oh yeah, take my money.
Great, you can watch it. You can watch it on a streaming service in 1080 when you can actually buy the DVD.
Take my money.
4K.
No, I don't have a 4K TV, mate. I need to get a 4K TV. That's the next investment.
Take your money and buy 4K TV rather than buying Paramount Plus at this point, until hopefully enough people bitch and moan at them and they go, oh, okay, we should give the same service as Netflix and Disney Plus and Apple Plus and Amazon Prime as well. I think that's enough for news because there's been a hell of a lot of stuff. So we're going to go on to reviews.
Reviews.
And first up, just a little note that all our reviews this week are generally going to be non-spoiler ones. Now, David, I believe you're going to talk about a film that I have not yet seen, which literally seems like something that shouldn't have happened. Yes, it's Hustle.
I'm in there. So, Hustle is the story of a talent scout, Adam Sandler. And he goes off and he's wandering about and he works for an absolute arsehole of a boss and goes to try and discover hidden basketball talents from across the world that are sort of under the radar talent that nobody else has seen before. And of course he comes across one and and the story goes from there, if we're not spoiling anything, but of course the fucking guy becomes a superstar. Of course he does. But that's essentially the show. It is very formulaic sort of sports film. There's nothing really exceptional about it. The performances, Adam Sandler does give a very good performance in it, and the basketball player who's called Bo Cruz in the film, but he's an actual basketball player called Juancho Herman Gomez. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. It's basically Creed. You've got your surrogate father, you've got your talented but emotionally strained main actor, your sportsman. That's the film right there.
So what you're telling me is this is Adam Sandler in he's actually good and can act film. This is like Uncut Gems Adam Sandler. It's
not Uncut Gems Adam Sandler, but he is good. He's definitely the best performance in it. With these sports films, whenever you have cameos and whatever from actual basketballers, which there is a lot of in this show, some of the acting in it is pretty terrible. But in a lot of other sports films, in this one it tends to be slightly better, although there are some proper stinkers. When like Dirk Nowitzki comes into it, for instance, just don't do any.
So
more
it's
acting.
kind of like when Beckham tries to have
it's just
cameos
not great.
in certain films.
But exactly. But this one sort of does find that balance a lot. And the guy that he works for, Vince Merrick, is played by Ben Foster. He plays his job very well. He very quickly makes you want to punch him in the face. Very quick. He's got a very punchable face.
Ben Foster has one of those faces. You know, he's so good. Ben Foster. He's so underrated in loads of really good films. I remember he was the creepy weirdo in 30 Days of Night who walks into the town and warns everyone. He did that sci-fi horror film Pandorum that was really good, and he's just generally
exactly.
Really well. He's like the guy who gets killed off early on, and you're like, oh, they killed him
in this as well, and he does it fucking well. You do want to hate him and just want to punch him in the face. But at the end of the film, I have a real problem with the end of the film, because it's one of those films that kind of just resolves itself. You know, there's no do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying not to spoil it, but like all of the problems and everything that's happening in the show and everything, and then it just resolves itself like that, and you're like, and then it ends.
Do you know what? I'm probably not going to bother, purely because I'm not a basketball fan.
I think if you're like me and you like any kind of sports film, I like quite a lot of sports films, even the bad ones. You know, I liked fucking Draft Day. Draft Day is a terrible film, but I watch it pretty much before every every year around the time where the NFL draft is, just to kind of get myself in the mood for it. Because I really like it, and I like some really terrible films. It's not up there with some of your really good ones like Moneyball or King Richard from this year. You know, good films. But it's generally, it's like a proper like middle of the road 5-star, like 5 out of 10. Sorry, not 5-star, like 3-star film. Then you know it's there's nothing significant about it. It is Creed in basketball, essentially, for me anyway. That's how I saw it. But if you love your sports films, then fucking watch it. You'll probably really enjoy it. I mean, I still enjoyed it, but there's nothing really exceptional about it.
Yeah, and like I said, I think if you're a fan of the sport or the sports person in that regard, then like I say, I know I've seen people who like follow basketball will love it because, you know, it represents their sport that they're into. But yeah, no, not basketball fans, so not really. NBA Jam on the N64, that's about as close as I got to basketball, man. Right, well, coming up, I have seen a new film, David, and it is on Apple TV Plus, and I watched this the other Saturday night, and I thought, I'm not going to get through this because it's like 10:30, I'm going to fall asleep, and I did not fall asleep. And I'd had a long week, David. I was tired, and I stayed up for this whole film because it was really good. And that film is Cha-Cha Real Smooth.
Turn it up to the left. Sorry.
Do you know anything about this film?
Tell
then?
me.
So I watched this film the other weekend, and it's young upstart Cooper Rafe, and it's a writer, director, and lead actor in the film. And it was a very entertaining, coming-of-age dramedy, we call it. A bit of drama, a bit of comedy. And, I say young upstart David because he wrote, directed, and starred in this film all at the age of, and this is going to annoy you, 25.
Fucker. Get out of here, you talented prick.
When he was at college, he made a short film called Madeline and Cooper, which he then uploaded to YouTube, and then he just spammed the links to loads of filmmakers. And one of them got back to him, Jay Duplass. And he came along and said he helped him develop his short into a full-length film, which he called Shithouse. And that came out in October 2020 and to generally positive reviews. Yes, you hate him right now, David, because what were you doing at 25? Actually, I know what you were doing at 25 because we worked at the same place, so probably don't mention that. David's face says it all, but you can't see, and that's a good thing right now, people. Cha-Cha Real Smooth is Rafe's second film, and he stars as Andrew, a young, aimless 20-something who really doesn't know what he wants to do with his life, while his girlfriend is at uni in Spain. He starts taking his younger brother David. His brother's called David. There you go. To bar mitzvah. They've got this weird thing of like all the younger kids in the film have like a season of bar mitzvah parties, and he takes his younger brother to one of them. And the first party they go to is really in need of some life being added to it. And Andrew starts getting the party going, and you see him going up and talking to all the nervous young kids and showing them how to have a good time. And the party becomes a massive success. And it's here he meets a young single mum, Domino, played by the excellent Dakota Johnson, and meets her autistic teenage daughter, Lola, again played brilliantly by a young autistic actress making her screen debut called Vanessa Berghardt. And she pretty much steals the film. And what develops is Andrew's crush on Domino, but also the obvious affection that Lola has for him. And the film works its way really well down the familiar tropes of the age difference between the two people who do have an obvious attraction to each other and all the other complications that are going on in their respective lives. And you know what? I'm not going to get too much more into the plot, but I love this film, man. It reminded me of those kind of early 20s days in that it perfectly captures that aimless, what am I doing with my life mindset.
Yeah,
that
stops
20s.
when you're in your 20s,
and,
of course. That doesn't continue until you're 30-something, 40-something.
Mate, literally before you interrupted me, my next line was that most of us have in our 20s, if not through most of our lives. So yeah, exactly.
It does kind of annoy me that trope is sort of, you only see that in films for people that are 20. You never see like someone that's 50 and they're like, what the fuck am I going to do for the rest of my... Because when you're 50, you've still got like 17 years left of work in you. Until you can retire in England anyway. So you never get that.
I think what it is that'd be too depressing for a lot of people.
It's too real.
Too depressing
people,
for the target age. Young people wouldn't go and see it, and people of the age group who are the target audience would be like, well, that shit's so depressing. I don't want to go and see a film about someone whose life's shit at that age, because that's my age and my life's shit. I'm going to the cinema for escapism. Bring me water, aliens,
shit,
James
just
Cameron.
someone doesn't know what they want to do with the rest of their life in terms of like what they want to do with whether they want to continue down the career path, or their career's never gone the way they wanted them to go, and now they don't know what they're stuck. That happens, man. At the age of fucking 50, 60, it never stops.
And what I liked about the film, it kind of reminded me of those kind of like 90s indie films that I really got into at the start of cinema. It kind of had that young auteur filmmaking. Like Kevin Smith went out and made Clerks by himself, and it was about his life at the time. And this is very similar to probably what Rafe's life was like at the time. He was a struggling young filmmaker, didn't know what he was doing, or didn't know what he wanted to do, well, except he did, because he wanted to be a filmmaker. And he just went out and done it. And I think, when you're watching this film, and there's two things here, either his performance and the script is so good because it obviously impinges on what his real life was like, and he's taken experience from what he knows in his short time on this planet so far, fucker.
Man, he's like half
but
your
then
age.
if it doesn't, that also just proves what a great... I'm
You're
not
close.
50. Not that close. I'm still the right side of... I can still say early 40s, man. I can still say early 40s.
He's not far
Good
from
God.
it, though. He's not far from
Just
it.
aging me up by half. Very far from it, ladies and gentlemen. Very far from it. But friend of the podcast. I put a comment out about the if anyone had any questions about the pod earlier for this particular film. And friend of the pod, Silver Screensavers podcast, asked, "Does the film take place on planet Earth?" And I kind of get that because I think they're just being. These guys are from the States, and the setting of the film really does take place in this sub niche of bar mitzvah parties in America. And being English and non-religious, it seems like an alien world to me in that regard. So I can't really speak to how authentic the representation is in the film because, for me it feels like something completely different. But just that, as I said, as we've gone over, what grabbed me in the film is that the kid's gone out and done it at 25, man. Fair play to him. And do you know what? I've seen some sniffy reviews, and most of the like RC reviews just always focus on what we talked about, which is jealousy of Rafe and the fact that he's too young to be this accomplished at this point in his career. People literally, he's made himself the star in his own film, and he writes himself a really good role. Yeah, that's what everyone in Hollywood would do if you could make your own film and get it funded. You would write a great role for yourself, and you would want to play it. So fair play to him, man. Fair play to him on that. For me, the film works so well because although it's a simple story that we've seen a million times, the three central leads of Rafe, Johnson, and Burkhardt are all brilliant. There's a really good supporting turn by Leslie Mann as Andrew's mother in the film. If you want just a great modern dramatic comedy drama, then this film is definitely worth checking out. And for those that do have an issue with Rafe's age, just to let you know, next up he's directing a film with David Harbour. And then he's adapting a book, Exciting Times, starring Phoebe Dynevor for Amazon Prime. Yeah, so I don't think he's really too worried what people think in the reviews. He's doing the work at this age, man, and that's what we all would love to be doing. And after watching Cha Cha Real Smooth, he's definitely a talent worth keeping your eye on, man.
You know what? You've sold this to me. I'm gonna watch it. Did you say it was on Netflix? Apple, sorry, thank you. No, you've sold that to me. I'm gonna give it a watch, and I'm gonna find something to hate about this man because he's obviously too talented to. You know what? I found something. Cooper's a dog's name. There we go. Okay, let's go.
And next up, David, you're going to be talking about the best dinosaur-related thing we've seen in recent days, which is not Jurassic World Dominion. What is it, David?
No, it is not. It is Prehistoric Planet, which is also on Apple TV Plus. And Neil, this is David Attenborough meets dinosaurs. Yeah, you're there. You're there.
I'm
You're
there.
feeling it. You're feeling David Attenborough meets dinosaurs right now. You know, it is, and it's done exactly how you'd see your nature documentaries that you'd see on BBC, like Your Life or your Blue Planet or I'm sure there's other ones, I can't think of them now. But there's the narrative behind the dinosaurs. It's all about sort of the breeding processes, or there's like one where they've just got to find where a dinosaur's just looking at itch its back, you know, and it's on this great hard journey to itch its back because it's getting swarmed by too many flies. And the level of VFX work that's gone on to it is it's so good. It really is. I mean, some of it's not fantastic, but as a whole, it's brilliant. It really leans into the emotional aspect of the dinosaur. So it does, like I mentioned, it does exactly what Your Life does, where you've got the iguana that's trying to hide from the snakes. I can't remember what that one was, or what show that was. But the clip where you've got the iguanas that come up and they've just been born, and then the snakes are trying to kill them, and the snakes are the villains, and you're fucking really rooting for this iguana. Well, it does that in this, but with dinosaurs. How the science behind it is also available for you to look at, and David Attenborough does always throw to that at the end of every episode. But the science behind this and how they knew that these were their mating rituals, that a T-Rex fucking lifted its neck up and projected some sort of vibrating sound to be like, hey, I'm not a threat, I want to have sexy times. That's bonkers. And it depicts proper fucking velociraptors, not Hollywood velociraptors, but proper velociraptors that are like up to your kneecaps and they're feathered, and it's how they think they looked back in the day. And it genuinely how with David Attenborough meets that emotional aspect of it, and this is all done through what's his McFace, Neil? Jon Favreau is an executive producer on it. I would have never thought that man would have done anything like this. Like Planet Earth, that's the one I was trying to think of. That's the big one, Planet Earth. Jon Favreau's one of the executive producers on it, which is bonkers to me. That man just has his fingers in so many pies. That's another man that's too talented for his own good. And it also brings in other talented people that have worked on like all the other sort of shows, such as Life. Like Mike Gunton is also an executive producer who'd worked on, as I said, Life. He was a cinematographer for that. But it is really definitely worth a watch. If there's anyone out there that has children, it's educational and kids will love it. So if you're listening and you have any children, throw it on, because it's educational for them, and it's fucking dinosaurs, which are awesome. And you know what? You'll enjoy it as well. It's going to be much better than watching Peppa Pig or something like that. It's genuinely. It reminds me. I love it because it throws me back to what Walking with Dinosaurs did for me when Walking with Dinosaurs came out when I can't remember, maybe 10. I'm not sure the age I was. But I just remember watching that and being in awe of how amazing the VFX was, and how the dinosaurs and the story, and learning about these creatures. And I found it fascinating because dinosaurs are cool. But if you were to watch Walking with Dinosaurs now, it doesn't hold up, man. If you were to watch it now, you're like, bloody hell, I thought this was really good back in the day, like the VFX work that was done on it. But man, it is. But yeah, of course, for the time it was. But Prehistoric Planet, man, it is amazing, and I'd love to think out there that there are kids that are watching this, or adults that are watching this, and it's throwing them back to that time where they were loving and falling in love with dinosaurs, and it's going to bring children in to fall in love with dinosaurs like the new Jurassic World films are, and I very much enjoyed it, Neil. I very much enjoyed it. You should definitely watch it. It's brilliant.
Are you ready, David, to pick up the Black Phone?
No, I'll probably die. Is it like when you say Candyman in the mirror? Like you're just fucked?
No,
Okay.
No, it's not. It's really different. The being scared and malice was in the right place, though. So yes, this is Scott Derrickson's first film since Doctor Strange, and his subsequent walking away from Doctor Strange 2. Now, Derrickson made his name with The Exorcism of Emily Rose, Sinister, and the first Doctor Strange film. And this is him returning to the director's chair for the first time in almost 5 years. Now, The Black Phone is based on a short story by Joe Hill, son of Stephen King, and Hill is most definitely a brilliant horror writer in his own right.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I've mentioned how great his short story collection was on a previous episode.
Taken over the man. Well, he's obviously taken over the mantle of his old man, but do you think he's actually producing better work than Stephen King is now? Like modern King, modern Hill.
I mean, it's hard to compare because I haven't read much modern King. I think probably the last modern King thing I read was Cell, which is easily over a decade.
Yeah, I read The Institute, which was okay.
Whereas I think Hill's books recently have been really good. I mean, first off, he did The Fireman, which was like his kind of stand, as it were, where people just spontaneously combust. That was really good. That was a brilliant book. But his short story collections have been amazing. And I think the one I mentioned on an earlier pod was called Strange Weather. And there's one of my favourite ones in it, and I mentioned this as well previously. about someone who goes skydiving and they land on a cloud. And they get stuck on the cloud. And they can't get off the cloud. And there's this like being in the cloud who's kind of keeping the guy there. And it's just really bizarre and weird. But just such a simple premise. And this short story is adapted from one of his collections called 20th Century Ghosts. And it's a Blumhouse production. And of course, being a Blumhouse production, it only cost $18 million to make. So, The Black Phone is set in 1978, and it's a story of 5 children who go missing in a small town in Colorado. And our main protagonist, Finney Shaw, is played by newcomer Mason Thames in his film debut, and he is the potential 6th victim of the local serial killer called, and it's an interesting name, The Grabber.
The Grabber. Why did I find that so funny? That's not a fun.
It's not the greatest name. But Finney gets grabbed and wakes up in a soundproofed basement where he is regularly taunted by the masked killer played terrifyingly by Ethan Hawke. Now, in the room there is an old disconnected phone on the wall that begins to ring, and it actually allows Finney to talk to the grabber's earlier victims. And what follows is a cat and mouse game of the grabber trying to trick Finney and the ghostly voices on the phone trying to help Finney survive longer than they did. And this was just a really good, pacey horror thriller. There isn't really much gore to speak of, but David, it's got a few major jump scares in it, 2 that I counted, that I did not see coming, and the second in particular was as good as the car jump from the Haunting of Hill House.
Nah,
Mate.
nah. That's a fucking jump scare. That's how you do it. That one right there, that car scene.
This one, the second jump scare in this film, it was funny. There was 2 girls sat a little bit further down.
So like a proper jump scare. We're not talking like a Sinister or an Insidious jump scare where you know they're going to come because the music builds and everything like that. And it's not actually, at the end of it, it's more of a relief.
You are not expecting.
You actually fucking shat your pants.
Yeah,
at the end
you
of it.
do not expect this one coming. And
Wow.
I just to say, it makes me laugh that in the cinema there was 2 girls sat by themselves a few rows down, and one of them literally grabbed her friend like with both arms when that thing, and literally just almost screamed the place down. I mean, it looked like the whole cinema collectively shit itself last night, mate, when we saw this. And I posted on Twitter when I got in there, that is the most people I've seen in a film for a non-Marvel film recently. That was like, it was really
that's the most people I've seen soil themselves in one place.
The brown noise is real, people. The brown noise is real. The film has an excellent central premise to launch from. What if you were trapped by a serial killer, but an old disconnected phone lets you speak to his previous victims that are trying to help you out? It's a great idea. But what really makes the film work, as most films want to, are the performances. And young Mason Thames is excellent as Finney. He runs a gamut of emotions, from trying to fight back and being tough at the start to like sheer despair when he thinks he's going to die down there. And I just love how the film takes its time getting to Finney's abduction, because you know from the trailer, he's the main kid, he's going to get abducted. But what the film does really well over the first 20 minutes, half an hour, is introduce you to the other kids who are going to become the victims and set up Finney's relationship with all of them. And it's really good. You like all the kids, and it's they do a really good job of making a lot of them likable. But it's the threat of the grabber lurking insidiously on the edge of the film, because you know he's going to get taken at some point, and you'll see the black van down the road in a scene, or you'll see a black balloon floating somewhere, and you're just like, and every time you see Finney walking down the street, you're like, is this the bit where they're going to get him? And it's not. And so it's so good at keeping the tension going, even when nothing's happening at the start, and you're just getting to know him and his family, because you know he's going to get taken. Oh, I got to do a special shout as well. Young Madeline McGraw, who plays his younger sister, the most feisty and foul-mouthed younger sister I think I've seen in a film in ages, man. She's called Gwen, and happily, and again, it's in the trailer, she has psychic powers. Not like, making people's heads explode like the boys, but she gets...
That's a pretty... Yeah, is that Joe Hill sort of taking that from his old man, where there's always some sort of psychic element to his, or paranormal element to his... It's
kind of handled quite well in this film. She just has dreams and flashes of the killer. And then obviously, once her brother goes missing, she is trying to find... Well, that's like the funny... That gets probably the funniest scene of the movie, and the biggest laugh in this type of film, is she's trying to pray to God, and she does a prayer, even though she's not religious. And then it cuts to the next morning, and she's like, God, what the fuck?
Okay.
Honestly, most of her lines early on had all the big laughs from the cinema. There's a scene. I mean, it's also nice to see a really good brother-sister relationship on screen where they get on really well and they clearly love each other at that age. Where she's like the slightly younger bratty sister, and they've got their dad, and the whole thing with her powers are kind of tied to her mum, and her dad's an alcoholic who doesn't want to plays down the powers. No, you're not seeing things that aren't there, all that kind of stuff. And again, his role as the abusive dad could have been really standard, but they twist that quite well and make him a bit more sympathetic than you would imagine that type of role to be. So again, the whole film pivots on how good these performances by these young actors are. And again, there's a couple of really vicious schoolyard fight scenes in it that you don't expect them to be that vicious for a bunch of kids, in kind of broad daylight. But
kids are dicks, man. Yeah.
Well, they are, man, in this one. And I think that's kind of the central tenet of Finn's journey in the story, is that he's told early on by one of his friends that, look, you're going to need to learn how to fight back at some point. And of course, the whole idea of the film is he needs to learn how to fight back if he's going to survive the grabber. Do you know what? I really enjoyed this film, and I'm going to give it 8 black phones out of 10. And to round us off today, we're going to talk about, a little show that I recently said had one of the best series finales even, of all time, that David was like, yeah, I'll watch it at some point. And that point happened, ladies and gentlemen. David has finally watched Derry Girls. And I take it you're...
Derry Girls, the old Channel 4 comedy about teenagers in Ireland. As I mentioned earlier on in the episode, you've been banging on about this you've mentioned it in how many episodes? Like 6, 7, and then obviously when we're talking, not in this scenario, you're still banging on about it. I can't escape Derry Girls. It's amazing. You need to watch it. So there was a moment between shows where we thought we'd throw it on because it's 20 minutes and we'll see if we enjoy it. And at the very beginning of the first episode, I was a bit like, I'm not going to get on with this show. I don't understand what's going on. It's all I didn't understand some of the references for the time period as well early on. So I was a bit like, I don't know it's not really for me. And then it hit about the halfway point of that episode, and I was like, fucking hell, this is good. It hooked me like about 10 minutes in. And then from then on, I binged it in the first season in, I think, the one sitting. No, 2 sittings. We binged it in 2 sittings. So we need to watch season 2 and 3. Is it 4 seasons total, did you say?
3 seasons in total.
3 seasons and a film.
Feature-length episode. So it's like a
feature. Okay.
Like just shy of an hour episode.
Oh, okay. So I'm 100% going to continue watching the show. It's got a real emotional impact. Man, that first season ends on quite an emotional punch to you. It gives you when they're all just sort of sitting there watching the telly, and the old man who's been a dick to the son the entire time. That relationship is 100% what I'm gonna have with when me and Natasha have children, and if it's a girl, when I'm an old man, that is the exact fucking relationship I want to have.
So your father-in-law to be is essentially Joe.
No, that's me.
Oh, you're gonna be.
I want to be the father-in-law.
You want to be
the relationship. I want to be that guy that's just like, fuck off, Joe.
You're talking at your hole.
Shut up.
You're talking at your hole, Joe. Apologies for my Irish accent.
I thought it was okay. So it balances the comedy between all the characters so well. There was one scene that cracked me up, and it was when the mum. I kind of don't want to ruin it for people that might watch it, but yeah, it was okay. So when they've accidentally set fire to the fish and chip shops thing, and then the mum's trying to hoax them to say that they were taken by Ada. Who was it? There was a break-in, and then they were all tied up. So she went round tying up all the kids, and got caught doing it. That's just such a fucking stupid scenario and it's played out so well. The writing by
Lisa McKee.
Who yeah, that's the fuck. It's just, wow. The comedic writing, the timing by the actors is so well done. The balance between all the different all the girls as well, where you've got the hang on, let me bring up the names because I can't remember. I'm not that big of a fan yet. I don't know all their names.
My favourite mate is Orla, Erin's cousin.
Yeah, where she's doing the step ups at the end of the first.
Just
season.
the lines, like the episode where they have the is it Ukrainians over, isn't it? Actually, is it Ukraine?
Yeah. I've seen that one.
And she's like, the guy's asking about a condom, and he goes, "I got protection. I got a knife." You know, she just comes out with the weirdest lines all the time. And I won't spoil it, man, but she gets a scene in the last episode, Orla, that is just brilliant. It's one of the best openings it's the opening, essentially, of the last episode, and she gets such an awesome scene. Yeah, I think with Derry Girls, it's like what I said to you, is that it has got that in common with the earlier, Graham Linegan shows, like IT Crowd, like Father Ted, in that it starts off with a small situation that spirals more and more out of control into a slapstick thing, and I'd say probably 75% of the show is the girls being idiots and slapstick comedy happening, but you have that constant drama underneath of the troubles and what happens.
So I'm gonna admit that I was never really taught much in school about the troubles in Ireland, about the IRA, about Bloody Sunday, about everything that went on there. But this takes place during the first ceasefire. The first season, anyway, does. And I'm ignorant to it all. And this show has actually made me go like, oh, what's happening here? Like, who are these people? The orange people. And I'm Googling it and I'm learning it as I'm going. And I'm learning the history of what's happening. And it's fucking awesome that a comedy is teaching me about the hardships of the time.
Mate, at the end of
the moment.
Do you know what? I think I said that on the previous pod when I'd seen the finale, and I said, and a lot of people online, it wasn't me, sorry, he said it, that a lot of people online said that the best comment I think I saw was, I learned more about the situation in Northern Ireland from watching Derry Girls than I was taught at school. And that's true.
Definitely. Yeah. 100%. I did as well. I don't know why it was never taught to me in school.
Wow.
I have no idea. Maybe I went to a Catholic school. I don't know whether that's got any part of it, but
speaking of Sister Michael, I love Sister Michael. I mean, all the characters are brilliant in it. Colm, the boring uncle who just like turns up and bores the shit out of everyone.
Yeah, Colm. Yeah, he's fucking Sister Michael. Sister Michael's probably my favourite out of if I had to pick a treat out of the girls, I quite like Claire.
Yeah, you have the same energy.
Yeah.
I think you have the same energy, man. It's Claire sometimes.
She's just fucking panic stations all the time. She just she goes from 1 to 11 so quickly.
And she's always the first to throw everyone under the bus immediately.
Yeah, I love it. She's just fucking
like in the middle of it, in the middle of trying to lie, she'll just, and it was all them, and that's it,
And Erin, in that Ukrainian episode, when Erin's just trying against all odds to stop James from getting laid with the Ukrainian, it was just fucking...
Oh mate, and
it's so silly, and that's what you love. That's what I love. You know what? It reminded me of a trimmed down tone, a better toned version of the Inbetweeners in a way. Does that make sense?
I never actually watched Inbetweeners because that was kind of come and went.
Oh, okay.
That kind of come and went when I was working overseas, so I didn't really see it. What I will say, mate, because you've done season 1, so I think seasons 2 and 3 are on all 4, so Channel 4 streaming thing. So you can get them all on there for free. So you just got to download.
So I watched the first season on Netflix. So if anyone wants to start off and they got the Netflix subscription, definitely give it a go.
Or watch it for free on all 4.
Or just do that. Yeah, that makes sense as well.
I will.
People might not be. Is it available in America, Derry Girls? Because it might be one of the things that's only available for the UK's Netflix.
I'm not sure. Do you know what? We will find out, and when this episode goes live, I will put a link to what service shows it in the States. Because if you're in the States and you haven't seen Derry Girls, well, first of all, you're probably going to need to watch it with subtitles. Oh, did you watch it with subtitles on, David?
No.
I have to admit I did.
No, you can understand them. You can understand some of them, like when Claire's having a meltdown and she's speaking really quickly. It's quite hard to understand her, but no, I can understand them all. The only thing that I'm a bit like odd about is that all the actresses that are playing the girls are so obviously older than
now
16.
Sister Michael is 2 years younger than me. A year younger than me.
Yeah, there you go.
That depresses me greatly, David.
Why?
Admittedly, she is made up to obviously be older, but that's funny, man. That is hilarious. Also disturbing that an old nun is younger than me in real life.
She's not an old nun. She's like a. I thought she was quite a young nun, actually.
Well,
I didn't think she was quite old. She's obviously the head teacher.
Well, she wasn't as old as the nun in the first episode, was she?
Oh no, the one that kicks the bucket.
She was 105.
What, that actress?
No.
Oh, the actual nun. Okay.
The age, the joke.
Okay.
God.
That's what I thought you were saying. I thought you were saying the actress was 105.
All right, Derry Girls started in 2018, mate. So 2018 to 2022. But honestly, when you get to the, I know you're going to want to talk about it. So when you get to the finale episode, as I mentioned before, I honestly think it is one of the most perfect TV finales of all time. Because like we've said about Derry Girls, it's sort of 60-70% slapstick situations with the girls getting into trouble. You know, the other bit is like what's going on politically at the time. And the way they end the show is so well done. I mean, it is a master. Oh yeah, I will say it's a masterpiece. The show is definitely on my best of list of the year, but as an hour of TV, there's been my best of list of the year is actually got 10 shows on it already, man, and we're only halfway through the year, so I'm gonna have to do some pruning.
There's a lot of shit to come as well.
Yeah, my film list has 5 films on it so far. It's gonna be a busy year, man.
I've got maybe two on my films list.
Okay, right. Well, I think that about rounds us up here on this episode of We Need the Roads. David's now a Derry Girl, and we'll see you next time.
What do Irish people say when they want to say goodbye?
You better get this right, because I think Pam is going to murder you.
I know Pam's the only person that. Yeah. Well, what do you say with ta-da? No, how do you do an Irish accent?
What are you asking me for? I don't know. I'm not going to.
Top of the morning to you. Ta-da there, girlie. Ta-da.
Ta-ra, that's Scouse, not Irish.
Fuck.
I'm not going to commit a hate crime live on our podcast.
How do Irish people say goodbye?
Well, Google it.
How do Irish people
I'd like to apologise to all our fans in Ireland, and I know we have fans in Ireland because on our most recent episode, our most downloads from one place were from Dublin. So you better be getting this right. Huh?
Slanleet. That's what I'm going with. Slanleet.
Okay.
Slangafoil. Slangafoil.
And once again, I apologise to all our listeners in Ireland and hope you come back for our next one.
Cheerio.